Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. Hope you guys are having a great day today. This is another video, I suppose. Um, my last video was informational, and there are lots of things that I see online and that I read about. Whereas that's where my focus is on the things that I'm interested in. Whatever pops up on my feed's been popping up on YouTube. You know, just random stuff. I don't feel like I'm getting anything interesting or serious. It's probably a time for you to, at least for me in my case, to just step away from it a little bit, start focusing on other things. Uh, Grounding, a lot of grounding, because it's we're living in interesting times right now. Obviously, the news is just all over the place with things. So yeah, definitely miss you guys, miss the connection. It's important. It works, right? It has a purpose. A lot of us are a moving up in the frequencies and the vibrations and all that kind of stuff. I keep mentioning this, and it's just the way it is. And so it's just everything clicks for you and everything connects, and then you're there, right? It's looking down a tunnel and you can only see a few feet ahead of you. It's a thick fog, and then you move in a little deeper, and the fog is actually clearing. It's not making itself darker, or you're not feeling small. You feel like things are getting big. The you know it's a grand opening of what's out there in this world and in our reality, our physical third dimension existence becomes enhanced. You there's people that think that you live once and you die and that's it, right? And you can hear it in their voice. You can understand their dialogue and the way that they process information based on whatever facts are there for them, right? Whatever interesting things might be, uh, they might be coming up with ideas where they're aligned, or how they're aligned with certain principles and certain things. Uh, there's a major heat wave, and where I'm now is there's lots of cars around, but there's a good breeze here where I am at the moment, and I think that's important, right? Get some fresh air, go out. I did a few laps in the old reservoir yesterday. Breathe in some fresh air. Actually, take a deep breath. Not shallow breaths. Take a deep breath every once in a while. Just relax. Calm yourself. Try not to be tense. Um, Sometimes you just might feel tense and not know that you're tense. Make sure your body's completely relaxed, right? And calm. And let the energies flow in. Because there's, like I said earlier, there's doom and gloom in the future of humanity, and then there's the opposite end that gets amplified. Both are amplified. The doom and gloom, the light, the brightness, the hope, the understanding of life. Everything becomes clear, and you're not feeding into the energy that's out there right now. You feed into this energy that's out there right now, and you might just summon or have a negative attachment to bad entities. And I know that doesn't apply to everybody, but it applies to me. So, you know, I'm careful where I direct my energy and how I focus it, because it impacts me profoundly, right? Um, and for others that don't have that kind of connection, that's okay. But you could still feel something for yourself, or you can participate in the flow of the energy where it's going, or you can join a different kind of flow and energy of a different kind of group that doesn't participate in all that. And there's a balance of that kind of energy in everything. It's usually very good. It's usually a very good kind of energy, mostly than bad. Good outperforms bad in lots of ways. So that's part of it. And there's also a lot of uh, frequencies. So a lot of uh, paths that you can take. If you have chosen a specific path, if you're drawn to a certain place. I was just reading an article just now where they reconstructed a face of a 150,000-year-old woman, and I mean like skin tone, eye color, facial features, etc., based on the DNA of a skull. But years ago, and I mean years ago, when the floodgate opened for the ascension process in 2012, and even before that, 2009, 2008, I was reading all these articles that were put out by channelers. The theme was always recurring. It was always how they never want to tell you what to do. They always just, look within yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Let that happen on its own through you. What I can offer you is the guidance, and it's not telling you what to do. It's more like how you're going to experience that for yourself. How does it feel when you're an ascended being, or how does it feel when you're in the path of ascension? It doesn't feel tense, right? What's tense? Any work environment is tense for a human being, right? And you have to acknowledge that is a tense environment, and it isn't necessarily your natural state of being. It's an effort made to perform a task that's going to give you an outcome, and usually that outcome is your well-being and your lifestyle, or whatever you want to put out of it. You're putting in a stressful environment for a situation, so you can then enjoy moments like this where you're relaxed, comfortable, and you feel your natural sense of being. So can you find that for yourself, that natural space where you're calm and relaxed, and you say to yourself, this is what I want to do? So going back to that article that I read, I remember reading all these ascension stuff because I was interested in it, and I followed it. And usually I have laser focused attention span with things that attract my attention enough to want to continue in that path, and I'll go down the rabbit hole wherever that is. What I'm saying is that they once said in the article that I read, and I found very interesting, is that let's say that you do find a fossil and it is a caveman human or something like that. What the article said was that caveman human that passed away and was buried and turned into a skull or skeleton or body fragments and parts will be rediscovered by that soul in a different body. So that soul is looking at what used to be an incarnation of a 150,000-year-old human back then, but that was his previous occupied body in a different life, which is interesting. Generally, they said that those that rediscover new technologies and rediscover stuff that isn't apparent to us, that will marvel at being a huge advance in the human comfort levels and just making life easier for you, right? That'll be rediscovered, or that'll be at least moved forward by an individual that's already discovered that before, right? That's already understands that kind of technology that's from out there, and then you just happen to bring that with you now in this lifetime, so you can rediscover, or at least discover for the very first time here in this century, something that's already known, right? So a new way to power your home, right? A rediscovery for the individual, but might be just a rediscovery for the soul, but it might be a discovery new to those that already have that gift, have that inclination of being the person that did that. So you're just waiting to discover the one thing that's for you, and that's maybe your that line of the human experience that you want to be in. If I was meant to discover or analyze or understand a certain part of the human psyche or the human evolution, I would have been born in a world where I'd be raised by parents that are scientists, and I'd be inclined to want to study a specific science like DNA, and then you're motivated to put in that direction where you discover what your life is meant to be about, and it's your crowning achievement. Maybe you and maybe 5 or 6 other people there that are making progress to make life better, and that's predetermined. That's usually um, it's your soul contract to do these things right before you get to Earth. Otherwise, every single human would be able to find something that they can advance or make this current human existence better, right? More fulfilling, easier for everyone. I was talking to someone about the sun, and I was talking to them about the heat. Heat comes from the infrared section of the sun that we can't see, and that's why it's hot. And it's cold because it's further away from the planet is further away from the sun. When we when it's wintertime, it's further away. And I thought, man, why can't we just block the infrared in the in the summer? And then it'll be sunny. It'll be sunny, but it won't be hot, or at least some of the rays, so that we can have a decent freaking summer for everyone, not this scorching heat that we're having now. That is a good idea. Or something in the atmosphere that'll block away the infrared beam, so that everyone's having a cool 75, 80 degree or something. You know, that could be a possible thing that'll happen in the future, right? I'm just saying. And there's lots of things that are out there waiting to be rediscovered. So you look at the Neanderthal, like I said, 150,000 years ago. I mean, they had it bad, because we know, looking back, they had it bad. Imagine 100, 200 years from now, how our future of humanity would think back and think, oh man, those guys from the 2000s, you know, 2025, they had it bad. We don't know that, right? We're comfortable with the way we are now, and we think this is great, and this is it for us. And it'll continuously evolve the human species. A lot of stuff is I'm not ready to talk about that kind of stuff now, but it involves just kind of getting rid of disease and getting rid of stuff that hurts the body, or stuff that it kind of lowers your ability to be a more functional human in your late stages of life, which is going to be the way that it'll eventually go, right? It'll be the way that it'll just happen naturally, because we want to be our best selves and bring that to the species of humanity at some point in the future. So that's something that we have to look forward to, at least, but maybe not in our timeline, right? Maybe some other time, way later. Well, I don't want to make the video too long, and I will try to say more and talk more. The articles were are still available because they always do these channelings, and the channeler does, they do prayers and they do meditate and they do get in a state where negative beings aren't going to come in and hijack and put you in a precarious situation where you're now have this weird deal that you made with some weird being, right? Like that's not what you want, right? uh and they're available to anyone. Just you can just search for the kind of channelings like the archangels and things like that. The theme was very recurring, and I think you wanted to know why I did stop reading, because it kept being recurring enough that I understand that it's a lot of the stuff within that you're looking for, and they never really explicitly said one thing or another. They said just look within and find yourself, and what find, excuse me, find yourself and find what's your goal and your purpose, right? Look for that. Look for that goal and purpose in your life, and just go with what feels right, because usually what feels right is good for you, right? And it might not be apparent for others around you, but it's what makes you feel good, which is great, right? uh, I like um, just historical facts, right? um, I sign up for pay a web. I sign up. I'm on a Facebook uh, group, I think, or just I added this Facebook group that talks about historical events, you know, um, uh, regarding the places in this city. So like, I'll see where they did a big construction, or they put in a bridge, or you'd see where people would have a picture of someone crossing the bridge in a little steamboat. Then they'll show half of that screen, and the other half would be how they built this bridge in 1885 or whatever, to compensate for that, the growth of the city and that kind of stuff, historical stuff. So places that are historically just rich in history, I'd visit that. You know, sometimes, well, like there's lots of like wood bridges, and I'd like to find the wood bridge. This one that's near. I could just Google that kind of stuff. So I'll go and like I'll participate in that kind of energy. You have to remember that there's I can tune in more to the environment and the people that were in that area. So you leave an imprint of energy in that place where you are. Even now in the baseball field out here, there's an imprint of people. And if you visit, maybe when there's no one around, um, not all places, you'll feel the energy of that place, and it's not how you're the way you're imagining it can be, right? There's a place there was a lot of work and a lot of uh, activity of people moving, and it's tore down or it's not used anymore, and they build a factory in that same place, that's a manufacturing place within that same ground. You can go to work in that factory, and you'd be in there's an impression of the previous occupants 100 years ago that leaves you with a desire to be a good worker and work hard, and you're like, when I come to work, I want to work, because there's a imprint of energy left in that area. So that kind of stuff, it draws me in, because you can read the energy and you can read the history behind these kind of places. And I just like history in general, and that's just kind of like that's where my focus is, of when you want to ask me what makes you happy or what do you like. I like history, but then there's a deeper sense of that where I just explained to you as to why, right? I understand the why. Some people might not wonder why they like fishing or why they want to be on a boat, or they love the ocean, or they like being in a place where there's just the ocean around them. Maybe they have that inclination at a previous point in their soul's existence where they were a sailor or something. They have that urge, right? That's still, you carry that with you, and you will carry that with you going forward. It's part of your energy signature. So I hope it's not allergies. I leave you guys well. I hope you guys had a good chat with me. I mean, I think we're kind of doing Q&As again. It's not bad. I've missed that a lot. And I'll see you guys next time.